Controlling the space around you in a fighting game is key, so why not grab the longest weapon that you can and go to town? While many types of weapons have that long range that you're looking for, the most straightforward weapon is the staff, or pole, or bow, or stick. The weapon has a lot of names, but the result is always the same. You have a long stick-like weapon that hits your opponent well beyond punching distance. For this video, we'll be looking at the fighting game characters who use these weapons. They can call it any of the relevant names, staff, pole, bow, stick, etc. As long as the weapon is great for poking at a distance. They can keep it simple or get creative, anything is fine. Also, one character per series of origin. And co-hosting with me again by popular demand is my own mom.
Hi everyone! Staffs are my favorite weapon in fighting games, so I'm happy to be back to discuss this topic.
Now, let's reach the top 10 staff users in fighting games. Number 10, Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. This game is pretty underrated for those mid-90s licensed fighting games. It has standard fun mechanics, and it takes characters from all over the Ninja Turtles lore. You've got characters from the cartoons, comics, and even one originally made just for this game, who technically was going to be a character from the third live-action movie until that flopped, but that's a story for another time. And of course, on this roster we have Donatello, one of the most famous staff users in fiction, appearing in a fighting game many years before his eventual Injustice 2 guest appearance and that Ninja Turtle Smash Bros. Inspired game. This version of Donatello gives you the standard fighting game staff package. He can jab from a distance, spin it like a baton, and poke rapidly. He's definitely not lumbering with this long weapon. He moves that staff like it's no one's business. He can even slash the air with his weapon to create a projectile. He must be moving that pole pretty quickly.
I like his speed effect, and the purple color too. I also like the way he jumps with the staff. It almost reminds me of a pogo stick.
Even though this wasn't the Turtles' first video game in general, for a fighting game premiere, this gave us both a fun iteration of Donatello and one of the first staff wielders in fighting games.
Let's kick down!
Number 9, Nicotine Caffeine from Samurai Showdown. Nicotine Caffeine fulfills the standard elder master trope. He has a high sense of honor, trains the main character, banishes anyone who is going to use his skills for pure violence, but in his old age, he doesn't carry a sword anymore. He uses a shakujo, which is a staff carried by Buddhist monks to show their high authority. And he's good at showing authority, since he uses that staff for a lot of whacking. He doesn't care how big you are or how pointy your sword is. He has enough power with his metal staff. It's taller than him.
That's not how I see him pictured with a name like that. Thought he would definitely be much younger, though I like that he can temporarily revert to a more youthful appearance. That's a trick I would like to be able to do. All those serums and creams I bought lied to me. I wonder what his secret is.
I'm not sure what's up with his name. The characters in this game series all have pretty normal names, so he's an outlier on that front. I'd assume he really just likes coffee and cigarettes, but neither of those items are on his bio under his interests. I think the game creators really just wanted to name him after stimulants as some sort of in-joke or because they thought it was funny, since even his village name, Cocaine, is a pun on cocaine. The only potential evidence in his moveset that nicotine or caffeine is involved is with his throw, where he breathes in his opponent's face and you can tell it smells really bad, possibly due to cigarettes or coffee.
Forget the staff, it's his breath that could kill you.
The rest of his moveset involves taking advantage of his small stature and throwing a bunch of elemental spells, being a master of magic as well as weaponry, and he's got a lot of speed.
I bet it's the caffeine that helps him jump that high. Kinda like me after 10 cups of coffee.
So whether he's a true fanatic of caffeine or the name's just a coincidence, we can at least guarantee that he's a master of the staff. Number 8, Genbu no Okina from The Last Blade. This guy bends the rules for this list a bit, but a pole is one of the classifications for a staff weapon, and he indeed fights with a type of pole, being a fishing pole, so that counts enough, right? He's got as much weapon range and skill as the other fighters on this list, and he does it all with a tool that can also catch him dinner. The fishing rod functions as your typical long, blunt object for his standard melee attacks, but expectedly, it has a hook on the end of it to give it that extra range. The fact that he's in a game where everyone has steel, sharp weapons, and he's just entering the ring with a common wooden fishing pole makes up for his more simplistic swinging motions. And he's practical with it, since he puts his pet turtle at the end of it to give it that extra impact.
You know the expression, give a man a fish, you can feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Give a man a fishing pole and he'll beat the bejeebies out of you. And if he can't, his turtle can.
While his weapon combat doesn't really go beyond the fishing rod, he has a vast array of attacks. He can summon other turtle-like creatures, create water out of thin air, and spin to win. Plenty of things from a small package. When I first saw him, I thought he was going to be a comedic character. You have all these serious samurai, and then between them is this elderly fisherman. However, looks are indeed deceiving. It turns out that he's actually the guardian of some demonic portal that's a major part of the antagonist's goals. And Genbu no Okina has the immense power that can prevent evil from escaping this portal into the real world. Though, since evil's not always coming out, it can be a boring job. That being said, Okina is happy just sitting around all day fishing until something actually happens, so he's fine with this lifestyle. It all comes together with his mantra of being quiet, mysterious, and friendly. His name, Genbu no Okina, just means old man of black tortoise, so he doesn't even have an official name, it's just a description of what he is. He's an old man, he's got a tortoise, and he's gone fishing. Number 7, Nightwing in Injustice. Nightwing is Dick Grayson, aka the original Robin, out on his own. Story-wise, he doesn't get to do too much in this game. He just gets to be a background character in the main universe, and then we learn that he's dead in the Injustice universe, and Bruce Wayne's son Damian, aka the 5th Robin, took his Nightwing identity and his weapon. Damian even took his exact fighting style, mostly just because he's an alternate skin for Dick Grayson, and they didn't want to have differences in character data between the costumes. But hey, his hair is long here. In the Injustice comic, it expanded the story to show that Damian killed Grayson when they were both stopping a riot at Arkham Asylum. Damian lashed out at Nightwing when Nightwing told him that he was acting too aggressively, so he threw an Eskrima stick at Nightwing in rage, knocking Grayson out and accidentally killing him when he landed on a rock. This was considered to be a pretty controversial death with the fans, considering how they wrote it, but Grayson later came back as the new dead man, so things were not as bad as they could have been. Regardless of the Nightwing, he'll always be fighting with his metal staff in the first Injustice game, which isn't always a staff. He starts it out as 2 Eskrima sticks for fast strikes, and then when he needs something with a bit more range and oomph, he'll go into stick mode.
I love his electric glow sticks. They pack a punch and make great party favors too.
Both are good for hurting your opponent, just at different speeds and ranges, though his posture does get pretty bad when he's in staff mode, leading to slower movements. This is not how we learn to stand up straight. That is shrimp mode.
I really like his staff spin. I think I could do that.
Yeah, but can you drive a motorcycle like him?
No, but if it was the Batmobile, I could definitely drive it. Maybe not at 100 miles an hour, though.
Both are also good for shocking the opponent. His electric pulses from his weapon are so strong that they can travel through solid rock, or whatever the ground is made of on the stage that you're fighting on. So regardless of if he prefers his staff in 1 or 2 pieces, Nightwing is aiming right for your sternum with it. Number 6. Rolento from Street Fighter. Rolento needs to win the various tournaments so he can get closer to building his personal utopia. And what does that utopia entail? Well, it's not what the good guys want, and it's not what the bad guys want. He doesn't really go into it more, it's just what Rolento wants. His main goal of defeating whoever's the main villain is because their dictatorial ambitions would prevent his utopia from becoming a reality, and his hope in fighting his way up to the final boss would be finding some new recruits to be a part of his army to make that utopia. Rolento's not evil, he's just lawful neutral, I think. I don't know, he takes himself extremely seriously to a point where I can't tell if he's so distracted by himself to see how seriously other people truly take him to be. And if someone doesn't want to join his army after a nice conversation, he'll just try to convince them with force. But what's his main method of quote-unquote convincing? Well, it's his staff.
Does he really need the staff? I think his opponent would take one look at him and run the other way.
This multi-purpose item can poke, spin, and yes, even bounce.
Is it a staff or a pogo stick the way he's using it? Do they have a toy version? It looks like it would make a really cool toy.
While the staff is his main tool, he can also throw knives, grenades, and use his steel ropes, the latter of which he can combine with his staff to get a stranglehold on the opponent. Though I don't know how to analyze his grenades. They have the recoil of a balloon popping. Like you'd expect such a tool of destruction to be a one-hit KO, but I guess that's why he favors his stick over anything else, or those are just really old and ineffective grenades, like from that one episode of It's Always Sunny where Mac and Charlie try to fake their own death.
Wait, knives and grenades too? I think he's too excessive in his fighting style. Pick one and done. I'd personally pick the staff.
The weapons are excessive, including the staff. Rolento is a trained military man, so he has plenty of maneuvers on his own to assault and escape. Plus, most of the fighters in this game series are unarmed, so I feel like that gives him an unfair advantage. Though other fighters can fire pure energy out of their fists, so maybe that staff just brings them up to their level. Rolento doesn't have time to learn the powers of chi. He just needs a stick and a dream for his fights. Number 5. Venom from Guilty Gear. Venom is a skilled assassin who's the best in the business, at least when Zato's not around. He was part of the Assassin's Guild, but despite killing for a living, he wanted to have a sense of morals with it. Sometimes it went over well with his allies, other times the higher-ups of the organization had other plans. But either way, Venom's really a good guy who just has to get his hands dirty regularly. Well, technically he doesn't since he wears gloves, but I mean in a figurative sense. Actually, he barely has to get his gloves dirty either, since he fights with mostly ranged attacks. That's no ordinary staff though, it's a pool cue, you know, for billiards. That being said, he has the full intent of fighting with it. This pool cue has all the range you'd expect for such a long object, going above, below, and in between, but its main appeal is that he can still play pool with it, just in an offensive sense. Venom has billiards that float around the stage, and he can hit them with the cue to deal damage to the opponent. You ever feel a billiard? Those things would definitely hurt if they came flying at your face at an above average speed. Since these are magic billiards, Venom can change their size and even trap the opponent in them. He's never short on tools either, since he can just manifest the billiards out of nowhere. It's not like he's just storing them in his pockets, if he has pockets. As with Guilty Gear outfits, his clothes are abnormal and are missing coverage for certain areas of the body. My favorite part of the design is that he has half a pant leg and then leggings under that, and it kinda goes with the pole's coloring, which is good thinking.
He certainly has a flair for fashion. With that black and white combo outfit, he's his own yin and yang. Definitely a unique twist to his pole. I could see him having his own show in Vegas, sinking daredevil shots into the corner pocket as they bounce off his opponent's head.
I don't know, even though Venom retired from the assassin life, I don't think he wants to do anything for that kind of attention. He just became a baker after that. Even if he didn't retire, he was an assassin. A flashy stage show goes against the secretive nature of an assassin, even if his fighting style is anything but stealthy.
You think with a name like Venom, he would have a snake somewhere on his outfit.
Well, as with everything in Guilty Gear, the Venom in his name is just there because it references a rock band with the same name. But I've always thought that the eye pattern on his hair was supposed to be something like a snake eye. No confirmation though.
Looks like the CBS logo to me.
It's just a unique design. Venom doesn't have a network deal. Number 4, Billy Khan from Fatal Fury and the King of Fighters. Billy is a guy who goes where the money is. His main goal is to support his sister and himself. Being orphaned at a young age, he mostly relied on stealing food for them. But when the main villain Geese Howard saw the potential in Billy as a teenager, he recruited Billy to be one of his bodyguards and main assistants. Since Geese was really the first person to show Billy this form of respect and gave him enough money to make a living off of for him and his sister, he was blindly loyal to Geese. Billy wasn't particularly interested in Geese's world domination ambitions. He was just grateful that someone took him in and viewed him almost as an equal. Now if it was someone like Terry Bogard's dad who took in Billy instead of Geese, then Billy probably would have been on the hero faction instead. Billy though is always willing to do anything for his boss. Sometimes it just involves scouting other strong fighters, other times he needs to take down someone threatening Geese's position of power, even if Geese is dead, allegedly. No matter the case, Billy is up for the task with his trusty staff. It automatically deceives you by having more range than meets the eye. It can split into 3 smaller pieces connected by a chain or rope inside, so not only does it have more reach than expected, but it can hit at more angles. And he can hit you with such speed where it looks like the pole splits into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of poles. Plus, he can set the pole on fire for some nifty attacks. I'm not sure where he gets the fire or how easy it is to control, but he's definitely good at starting the fire.
I love his entire moveset, from his baton twirls to setting his pole on fire to breaking it into multiple poles. Did he get those muscles swinging that pole, or did he add weights to the end of it for workouts? Either way, I can feel the burn or see the burn. Which one?
Well, Billy always makes sure to show off his muscles with his outfits because he's rarely wearing a shirt, and if he is wearing a shirt, it usually has no sleeves, but it's either overalls and no shirt for him, or jacket and no shirt, the latter of which he's very adamant about putting a no smoking sign on the back of.
Since he's very anti-smoking and hates cigarettes, imagine him in a match with nicotine caffeine. Has that ever happened?
That's one crossover combination SNK has yet to try out. Why not put them both in the next Capcom vs SNK game? Well, first get us a new Capcom vs SNK game, and then we'll talk roster. Number 3, Jade from Mortal Kombat. Jade's history has changed a few times, but she's ultimately on the side of good. She was once one of Shao Kahn's deadly assassins, and sided with her best friend Kitana first and foremost, who was also initially on the Shao Kahn side. When Kitana learned that the Emperor wasn't actually her real father, she attempted to join the forces of Earthrealm to stop him, so Shao Kahn sent Jade to hunt down Kitana and bring her back to Outworld. With Jade's heart ethically in the right place, she ultimately takes Kitana's side and helps out Earthrealm against Shao Kahn. And after that, she just kinda sticks around, no pun intended. She's involved in big plot lines like rescuing Kitana after Onaga's rise in Mortal Kombat Deception, or working against Shao Kahn again in Mortal Kombat 11, but she's never a main character. She was always playing support, even if she got her own chapters in the story mode. In Deception, Sindel actually led the charge to save Kitana, katana, while Jade rivaled with Tanya, who was just playing lackey for Onaga at the time, and in Mortal Kombat 11, her final opponent in her story chapter was her partner Kotal Khan, rather than someone major from Shao Kahn's or the Revenant's army, or just someone else who was an antagonist. I wish she got to kick a little more ass higher on the villain ladder, but even when she got smaller roles, her weapons carried her popularity. Her staff is her main weapon, and it doesn't take up much space. With her being one of the characters that was a palette swap in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, her weapon would only emerge when she needed it. It was a part of her general melee attacks where she pulls a full-size staff out of nowhere and then puts it behind her back where it disappears, or she firmly clenches it between her buttocks until she needs it again. I like her Mortal Kombat 3 fatality where the opponent gets stuck on the pole and then she shakes it until they explode. It's as if she's like, ew, get off, I was just trying to do my win pose.
Jade wins. Fatality.
Mortal Kombat 9 shows how the staff appears and disappears very well by having the pole in a tiny state and extending it to full size only when Jade needs it before it retracts into its portable state again.
One size does not fit all, kind of like my Snow Joe expandable roof raker. I love the versatility of the staff, and you could pack it into any suitcase, purse, or pocket. Great for travel and for pulverizing any size opponent. I especially like her staff grab. That would be my signature move.
I like all her momentum moves with the pole in this game, like when she essentially does a pole vault or dance. It both evades and hits depending on the situation. The pole's also just good for whacking the opponent. I don't know how she does it, but she wiggles that thing for like 5 hits. Regardless of how she's holding it, the moves will always have that impact. I also like that the Mortal Kombat 9 and 11 staffs have a glow to them. It adds to the mysticism of the series. It's like it's filled with lava lamp goo. Plus, Jade can make herself glow, so it goes with her aesthetic.
Jade wins.
Number 2, Lychee from BlazBlue. Like most of the BlazBlue roster, Lychee has some tragedy in her backstory. She was a woman of science working in Kokonoe's lab. While she was into alchemy and medicine, her friend Lot, who she met while working in the lab, was studying the boundary that connects the different dimensions, though getting close to it too often poisoned his mind and caused his body to morph into goo and for him to lose his memories, becoming the being known as Arakune. And now Lychee was out traveling the world to find a cure for him, as difficult as that may be. But along the way, she met some new allies and found additional purposes in life, like opening up a clinic and educating those closed off from society, most notably the Cat People tribe. And in journeying to get her friend back, of course, she'll run into some battles. Her moveset is half martial arts and half staff, called the Maten Bow. As discussed in our teacher's video, she controls the staff remotely using the panda on her hairpin, which taps into the boundary's energy, the same boundary that corrupted her friend, so it's a risk-reward power. Part of the staff's viability is as a blunt object, just being a good thing to ram at the opponent or spin around at a rapid speed. And being able to control the staff with her mind via the panda, she doesn't have to expend any extra energy carrying it or throwing it, so she can put that energy elsewhere. It's basically a psychic bond with the staff.
She is one with her staff, though her staff is more than one with her. That could really come in handy for a sneak attack or if she has more than one opponent at the same time. And it shapeshifts. That, in combination with her acrobatic ability, what more could a fighting gal want?
If the staff isn't being used to hit you with, then Lychee is putting it somewhere else on the stage as an object that she can jump off of to gain momentum and do different kinds of attacks. She tosses the staff with pinpoint precision to land anywhere on the field. She can then do high-flying, death-defying combos off of it by continuously bouncing off the staff and her opponent, and then when she's done with that, she can call it back to her, hitting the opponent on the return. The staff doesn't even need Lychee the whole time, since it can grow limbs and run into the opponent that way too. There's still a psychic link there, since this is magical science we're talking about, but regardless, that stick's either gonna kick you on its own, or give Lychee the ultimate platform to kick you from.
甘いわね。充電ポート。 ラオチュウ勝利なんちゃって
Honorable mentions, Karine Son from Voltage Fighter Gokaiser. Now this is a bizarre fighting game, but I'll save its history for when a character from it gets a full entry on a list. Karine's got the standard Son Wukong moveset, with her flying cloud and extending pole, so you know it has to be a good staff with that inspiration. Wait, Son Wukong, Son Goku. I just realized I forgot to put Goku on this list. Honorable mention number 2, Kid Goku. Adult Goku never fights with his power pole or Nyoibo in any of his fighting game appearances, but the few Kid Goku appearances in fighting games give us some cool power pole action, including GT Goku in Dragon Ball FighterZ, who I guess just stole his power pole back from under the lookout for nostalgia's sake. Son from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is another Son Wukong inspired character in a fighting game, which means she's got a cool pole too. Wait, Marvel vs. Capcom? Uh-oh, I never spoke about Gambit on this list. Another side note, I just realized I forgot Gambit too. Look at him, of course he's a master of the staff. My retroactive apology for forgetting him here is that he got a high ranking on my characters that fight with playing cards list. Also, shoutouts to Raiden from Mortal Kombat, who sometimes carries a staff. Technically, he carries a staff in as many games as Jade does, only because Jade's absent from about half the Mortal Kombat games. But looking at percentages, Jade carries her staff 100% of the time, while Raiden only carries his for about maybe 50% of the time. Finally, there's Falk from Street Fighter, who combines her pole with Psycho Power. If only I didn't have that 1 per series restriction, she could have been partying with everyone else here too. Same goes for those couple of Soul Calibur pole users also affected by the 1 per series rule. Wait, I haven't spoken about Soul Calibur on this list, unless... For number 1, we might as well go with the quintessential 3D weapon-based fighting game for this weapon-themed topic. Number 1, Kilik from Soul Calibur. Kilik is a serious man with serious goals, being to purify all evil in the world. Though he does have a beef with evil, so there is a reason. And this is the Soul Calibur universe, where the evil that he has a beef with is an actual entity. Evil's also purple. Watch out for anything purple in your travels. It all started when Kilik was a kid. He was raised and trained by a group of monks. Him and another student who was like a sister to him, Zhang Lian, were trained as the best bunch of students at the school, and were set to inherit the mystical items for conquering evil. However, evil wasn't a big fan of these items. On the night of the passing down ceremony, the entity known as Evil Seed possessed everyone in the village except Zhang Liang, who was protected by her sacred mirror weapon. However, she wanted to protect Kilik, so she gave him the mirror so he could destroy the evil, which caused her to lose control to the Evil Seed, and Kilik had to prevent the evil from spreading by killing all those infected, including her. Even though vanquishing evil was already going to be Kilik's plan, now it was personal with this Evil Seed. While he eventually overcame the haunted memories of that night, he needed to remove evil from this world regardless, and it all starts with his pole weapon. The weapon's name is Kali Yuga. While it's great for fighting with, its main purpose is to absorb evil energy, taking it away from this world and storing it where it can harm no one. However, it doesn't come without its trade-offs, as the more evil energy it takes in, the more its user is exposed to its mind-controlling madness. In Soul Calibur 6, we saw Kilik could succumb to the evil energy since it was overloaded into Kali Yuga, and then he would have to expel it in the fight, turning kinda purple. He won't lose full control though, since he still has Zhang Lian's mirror, which neutralizes the energy. I'm sure that there are ways that this can backfire, but for now, Kilik's staff can destroy evil while still being his main weapon, and what a weapon it is! It doesn't need to do anything mystical in the fight, he just has to hit hard enough with it. Being a trained martial artist, he combines his light motions with the swinging of the staff. If you want some space, he can just poke with it. If you want to throw your opponent, he can lift him up. And if you want to fly, well, he can't do that, but he does do a helicopter motion.
I love the way his overhead swing sharply contrasts with baton twirls. Was he in a marching band in a former life? It doesn't look heavy. Is that his strength? Or the pole itself? Could I lift it?
I mean, he is a pretty strong individual, but it could be lightweight. I'm not sure how much it's weighed down by all the evil energy that it has to store. That being said, I probably would not touch it since Keelik was a chosen fighter who needed years of experience before he could even wield it, and it has a bunch of evil energy that it's containing. With how much follow-through Keelik has to do for certain swings of his staff, he does have some blind spots, but against someone who just wants to run in and slash a sword against him, it's hard to get beyond Keelik's range without taking a second to think. Even if you do watch his movements, he's been doing this for many years, so he has plenty of ways to swing above, below, behind him, wherever. Keelik's always got a game plan to counterattack, so good luck taking on this master of the staff. Not only is he the staff expert in Soul Calibur, but he tops this list of staff users across all fighting games.
Link Shang Super! I strike! I reserve! Om Vajra Dharma Keelik.
Now, what did you think? Did all these fighters have the range that you're looking for, or did some come up short? Who are your favorite staff users in fighting games, whether we discussed them or not? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.